first got this drone, I was so close to selling it purely because a lot of the footage doesn't really work in my videos when it comes to weddings or my job at the football club. It's just not really the style. It's quite a specific look, and to be honest the signal's crap, the camera on it is rubbish, so what is there to like about it? And that was until some genius stuck a GoPro on top of it and changed the game of how the drone footage looks on it, and it looks incredible. And to be quite frankly with you, it's the most exciting experience flying this drone when you've got the goggles on. It's something that I don't think DJI would have ever have meant to have happened when you stick their biggest competitor's camera on top of it. And to be quite frank with you, I think they've created a beautiful mess. Stay tuned for this 1 year review of the DJI FPV. Well, what do you know, it's taken me 7 months to actually do a full review on this drone, from my very first video on YouTube to when I first flew it, and since then it's been a bumpy relationship. Like I said in the intro, it's got its complications to it. I mean, it was DJI's entry point to the FPV world, and I'm not an FPV flyer, I never have been, but I think it's great for beginners like me who have a lot of experience with the drone, and yeah, it's very good. But before we get into any of the opinions and that, let's go into the specs. The camera on the DJI FPV has a 1/2.3 inch sensor. It can shoot 4K at 60 and 50 frames a second. With Full HD, it can shoot 120 frames a second. It has a Cine D-like profile, has a field of view of 150 degrees. It can shoot 120 megabits per second. It has rock steady stabilization on it. Has a 795 grams takeoff mass. It can fly at 86 miles an hour. And it has OcuSync 3.0, and it comes with goggles. Let me show you. Here they are. Here are the goggles. Yep, that's them. They look buggy. So that's more or less the specs of the drone, and a lot of it are to do with the camera. And to me, the specs are quite irrelevant because I no longer use this camera on the drone, to be honest. To be honest with you, it's very disappointing, especially for an entry point drone in the DJI world of the FPV. It's grainy when you try to recover it, and that's not even heavy recovery, that's just standard recovery in my opinion. I'm not going to complain too much about the sensor size because you want to be flying this in prime daylight like this. I feel like the colours don't look that good, it looks quite bland. The props get in the way, which is quite poor. To me, that shows it's quite a poor design. I don't know if that was the intention of it, to make it look like a PV drone, but to me that is disappointing. Now, when you stick the GoPro on top of this, however, it is a real game changer. The colours just pop right out at you, they look really good. It's a wider field of view, you don't get the propellers getting in the way, which is great. And to be honest, when you render it through real steady, like you can see in this video up here, it looks like CGI. It doesn't look real and it looks fantastic. And I've never seen drone footage come out like that before. And that's why I think this is such a unique setup. I know people do it with other drones, but for DJI's sake, it is unique. I've done a review on the GoPro. I'm not going to go into it in this video, but you can find the link here or there, wherever it is, to see what the camera specs are on this. But what I will do is, I will leave down here the comparison of the specs of the camera, so you can pause and just have a look at that. Now let's get into the pros of this drone. For me, flying this drone is an experience, like I said at the intro of this video. It is so exciting. Once you get the goggles on, totally forget you're wearing them, you just get immersed into it. It's got the center point so you can just fly through those tight spots. It is such an exciting experience. Like when you tackle that sequence, it is just so good, and you know the drone footage is going to look incredible once you've got this. Yeah, it feels like you're flying a fighter jet. It is really cool. It's one of those experiences, like once you land the drone, you take the goggles off, your heart's racing because you're like, oh my god, that was exciting. And I think the good thing about this drone, despite it being an FPV, I feel like in the FPV community, there's that divide between drone flyers and FPV flyers, and I think that's what DJI have tried to do with this drone, is to try and build a bridge over that, because I'm not an FPV flyer, and you don't necessarily need to be an FPV flyer, and that's okay. I stick this in sports mode. I can't fly it in manual. It's something I do want to practice, because it kind of breaks that boundary of, you can get a bit more creative and you can do a lot more with it, but I'm just not at that stage yet, and I'm okay with that, because I still feel like you get the FPV sort of look in sports mode. It's got the sensors on it to prevent you from crashing depending on how fast you go, and I think that is pretty good for starters like me, getting into the FPV world. Yeah. Oh, lovely. I know. It's still like 13 degrees though. It's still like 13 degrees, but it feels like summer. Double digits. When you buy a drone, you want it to be quiet, you want it to be small, you want it to be light, just so no one can really hear it or see it if you're flying not too far away from them. But when it comes to this drone, it spits in the face of that theory. Even the startup of this drone sounds cool. It just sounds like it's a way to rip through the air. It is very loud. It is loud, and I'm okay with that. It's almost got that arrogance to it that it wants to be loud and fast. Like I said at the start, it can fly 86 miles an hour. You might be breaking the law when you fly that fast, so I recommend you don't. And because of the design of it, it's not like a typical Mavic setup where it's the folded arms, it sticks out. It is actually quite small and compact. I mean, if you think about it, when you're flying it, you're going to be flying it like that. So it's actually, the propellers are small. You feel like you can fly through them gaps, whereas like, say a Mavic 2 or a Mavic 3, it is a bit wider and you wouldn't really necessarily fly through that. And because it's got a bit more weight to it, probably the battery, it's like a brick, you feel like the wind isn't going to get too much in the way with it, and you do generally feel that when you're flying it. Like I said, when you're wearing the goggles, it has a center mark in the middle, so you feel like you're guiding through wherever you're going to be flying through. I mean, that's the purpose of this drone, right? You're not wanting to fly it high, you want to fly it through things, obstacles, you know? And that does help. But when you're wearing the goggles, you do get immersed in it, because instead of the typical setup where you're flying on your phone, it's right there. So you feel like you are the drone, and you get this H to where you are as well. Because I mean, the battery life on this isn't so long, and you don't really want to be flying this for too long anyway, or too far. But it is quite handy to see where you are, and I feel that's quite a cool thing that DJI have done with the goggles. Also, one of the good things about the goggles is that it has an SD card slot. So if you were to lose this drone, then you could, obviously the SD card is going to be in this or in your GoPro, and you can look back on your footage and see where the last frame was recorded. Also on the app you can use the Find My Drone feature. Another thing I like about the DJI FPV is the skins. Now this one comes with like a transparent dark sort of skin, or you get this luminous green one, which I think is quite cool. It's I like colours, I think they pop out at you, and I think if you're flying this you do want to show it off really. One thing I would say is that it would have been quite kind of nice if the DJI shop had a few more different skins, you know, like red ones, ones that could go in the dark. Why we want to fly in the dark, I don't know, but just things like that. Yeah. Okay, so now on to the cons, and yeah, you know, it's great being able to have a bit of fun with this drone, to feel like a fighter jet and get these cool shots, but all in all, you buy these things for the camera, and like I said at the start, the camera's terrible. For an entry point drone, it is really disappointing, because this drone could have been so much more, where you don't have to rely on investing in another bit of equipment if you don't already have it, like a GoPro. I've got the Hero 10 on top of this, and on top of that, the signal is awful. They market it as OcuSync 3.0. It is obviously OcuSync 3.0, but what is that 3.0? You fly behind a building or an obstacle, you lose signal. Almost defeats the purpose. I have almost lost this drone when I was flying at Dunnottar Castle, when I was flying low and behind a big cliff into the castle. Like I do understand the logistics of flying behind a big object, you're going to lose signal. but it is quite disappointing, and that moment where I did almost lose it in the North Sea at the opposite direction of where I was very scary, considering I thought I almost lost the GoPro and the FPV drone. So yeah, that was pretty scary. So yeah, not so reliable in that, but I suppose it does kind of make you a bit more wary of how you do fly it. The battery life on this drone, it only lasts about 5 to 8 minutes if you're going to be ripping it through the air, which isn't long. So you probably would be wanting to get the Fly More combo where you get 2 more batteries in the charging pack. I personally don't have it, but it would definitely help me if I did have it, because it's not long. But I mean, with due respect, it is using quite a lot of power, so yeah, there's that. The other con is, like, I know it's complimenting the build of it for its purpose, but it's not exactly, you can't really fit it in your pocket. Like you've seen in one of my earlier videos, I've got to carry it in this case, you've got to take the propellers off, and it just kind of makes it a bit more difficult logistically of how you want to fly it. I mean, I would maybe want to take it on holiday with me to explore the cliffs and that, but I mean, that's just another big thing. Whereas, like, one of the lovely things about the Mini 2 or even the other Mavics is that you can fold it up, you can stick it in your pocket and just take out whatever you want, whereas this, it's quite big, you know. I mean, the Mini 2's smaller than my iPhone, you know. Yeah, it is quite big and bulky, but I mean, I suppose that's just one of the setbacks of it, if you want to call it that. For me, I would maybe say that, because it does put me off for wanting to bring it if I'm just want to go on a relaxing trip. And the cables and that, when you're trying to connect the goggles, the battery, you've got the controller as well. You've got 3 things and you only got 2 hands, so yeah, it can be a bit of a mouthful at times. I'll finish this video by saying that I do genuinely believe that DJI have created a beautiful mess with this entry drone. It's not a bad entry, it's not the best entry, obviously, with the camera, and I do know that, I don't know, but I've seen strong, reliable rumours that the FPV Mini is going to be coming out this year, and yeah, I do think they've got a lot of work to do. You do see these drones that are absolutely tiny, and they've got GoPros on top of them to make the footage look good too. And I feel like DJI maybe have to redesign the look of this so the propellers don't get in the way. And obviously the camera's got to be a lot better, you know. The people are disappointed in this. They're not going to want to get it if the camera's poor. And if it's a Mini, I can't see it supporting the GoPro too. So that's why I think this drone is very unique, you know, because I don't think they're going to release a drone where you can stick a competitor's camera on top of it. Like, I know they've got the Action Osmo 2, but I mean, obviously it's a different shape and size, and if you're buying a drone, you want to have a built-in camera. I mean, the purpose of this drone is to make it as easy as possible for any drone consumer to go and buy, and it's a little bit more complicated than that, is it? So I will close this video by saying I do absolutely love this setup. I love how it looks, right? I don't know if I'm contradicting myself or not, because it's such a love-hate relationship with this drone. I love how it looks. I love how loud it looks. I love the footage you get off it when you have the GoPro on top of it, when you render it through Real Steady. It just looks like CGI. You have so much fun when you fly it, and if you're watching this because you're maybe thinking of buying it or not, I would definitely recommend it, especially if you already have a GoPro. I do recommend it. I mean, there is that risk, but that's up to you, and all in all, it's not how you fly it, it's how it looks at the end of the day, and that's the bottom line of why I would keep this. So yeah, thanks for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, and yeah, I've got more content in the works, so yeah, get ready for that. See you soon.